guys, how's it going? Today's video is my November TBR. With NaNoWriMo and Writing All Month, November is usually a really tough reading month for me. I'm always conflicted with reading because I don't want to read anything too similar to what I'm writing because I'm worried I'm going to get influenced and my story's going to end up being too similar to that one. But I'm also worried about reading something too different than what I'm writing because I'm worried that I'm going to get out of the zone and stuff. So I usually just don't end up reading, and I don't like that. So I thought I would just pick out a few books now, and that way it should hopefully help motivate me to read a little bit during November. I'm only picking 3 books because I think if I pick too many, I'm just going to get overwhelmed and not want to read, but I thought 3 was a pretty obtainable goal. The first book on my TBR is Queen by Right by Anne Easter Smith. I really like royal historical nonfiction books, and this author has done a couple other books that I really enjoyed, so I thought I'd give this one a chance. This is the story of Cicely of York, and I actually haven't read much of her history, so I'm excited to get into it. This book is obviously very different than what I'm writing, but I thought that having a book that didn't take place in modern day would at least help me kind of stay in the right mindset for my story. It's a little bit longer, it's about 500 pages, but I find these stories tend to go by really fast, so I think that it's still going to be fine. The second book is The Neverending Story by Ende. This is a classic story about Bastien Balthazar Bucks. He's a young boy who's getting bullied at school but really enjoys reading, and he ends up finding a book called The Neverending Story, and he gets transported into this magical world, and it's just a lot of fun. I've never actually owned the book until recently. I read it when I was very young, and I've watched the movie a handful of times, and now that I finally own a copy, I just don't want to wait much longer to finally read it again. I love this type of fantasy where it's surreal and mystical and weird, but in a good way. I chose to read this one in November because it's still fantasy and it has a lot of weird elements to it. I love just the feeling of the world, of the atmosphere, the setting, the tone. I really like that in this book, and I think that if I do end up getting influenced by this, it's going to be mostly in tone and language and stuff, and that's not going to be a bad thing. I think that this will also give me some cool inspiration for just how to describe a world. My world is significantly darker than this one, but I still want to have some of those surreal kind of feelings to it. And obviously I just love this story and really just want to read it. And the third and final book I'm hoping to get to from this month is The Catcher in the Rye by JD Salinger. This is a book that I have tried to read multiple times and just haven't been able to. You can see here that I still have my bookmark from the last time I tried to read it. I got to page 72 out of about 215. I don't know why I can't finish this book. I think at this point, I've just built it up so much in my mind that I'm intimidated by it. We started to read this in grade 12 English, but we ended up not having enough time in the semester, so we stopped reading it about a quarter of the way through to move on to something else. After that, this was a book club book, but I only joined the book club to try it out, and it just didn't work with my schedule, so I never ended up going. And again, I started reading it, and then since I wasn't going to go to the book club anyways, I just stopped, I guess. And then the third and most recent time I tried to read this was, I think a couple years ago. I started reading it, and then I think I ended up moving or something, so I packed it away, and it just takes me forever to unpack my books. So by the time I unpacked it, it was like 6 months later, and I just wasn't in the mood for it anymore. I find classics a little bit intimidating anyways, because I find they're just so built up, and I feel this pressure to like them, because classic books are classic for a reason. So in theory, I should love all of these books, and if I don't, clearly there's something wrong with me. Which I know is completely wrong. It's just this pressure that I feel, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way, which sucks because reading is fun, and all this pressure we put on ourselves, it takes away from that. So I am just beyond intimidated by this book, and I enjoyed what I did read from it. I just haven't finished reading it yet, and now it's just so built up in my mind that I have all of this pressure that I put on myself. But enough is enough. I'm going to read this book. So there you have it. Those are the 3 books that I'm hoping to read in November. It's definitely a short TBR, but I think it's achievable. You know, being a reader isn't about how many books you read. If you want to set personal challenges and goals, that's 100% fine. I do that myself. But it's about enjoying what you read, it's about having fun, and I think that 3 is the perfect number for me for this month. I know this was a short video, but I hope you guys still enjoyed it. And what about you guys? What are your views on reading while writing? Do you guys struggle too? Have you found any tips or tricks or something that works for you? I'm really curious how others feel about this, so feel free to comment down below. Until next time, have a great day. Bye!